I walked out on my family and now I feel like crap. When I, 22F, was 13, my mom got pregnant at the ripe age of 41, and from the start, both my parents wouldn't stop going on and on about this miracle baby and how it's going to change their lives. I figured my mom would quit her job and care for it since my dad brought in the majority of our income and it wouldn't be any financial strain if my mom wasn't working. But no. As soon as the baby was born, it was always me having to look after it. At first it was just a couple times a week while my mom went to get groceries and the kid was asleep most of the time, so I figured whatever. I can deal with this. By the time I turned 15 and my sister turned 1, I was on permanent nanny duty. If I refused, I was grounded, had my electronics taken away and was made to sit in my room. For the next 3 years until I turned 18. My life was horrible. Wake up early before school to feed the kid. Call grandma to let her know when to come watch it. Leave for school around 7 a.m. Come back home around 3:15 p.m. and take over from grandma. I had to quit all my extracurricular. Couldn't hang out with friends. Never had a relationship. I was literally a 24/7 nanny for a kid I never asked for. All the parenting duties fell on me. I had to potty train her. I had to teach her how to dress. How to use a fucking spoon. I had to clean up after her. My parents would come home from work around 7 p.m. Take the kid and spoil it to fucking oblivion. This meant by the time she was 4, she expected to be rewarded for the stupidest shit which I refused to do. So she'd throw tantrums and complain to my parents that I was being mean, which would result in me getting punished. I started uni at 19, but was still staying at home because I never had a job, obviously, and my class schedule wouldn't allow me to get one. Anytime there was a gap in my schedule, I had to come home and take care of the child. If my parents thought a class wasn't important, I wasn't allowed to go to it but had to take care of the child instead. I became increasingly more depressed and eventually got hospitalized at the age of 20. Soon I started getting messages from distant family members about how ungrateful I was, that I turned my back on my parents. This made me even more depressed, but a week after I got out of the hospital, the kid was showed straight back into my hands and off you go. I struggled through the last 2 years of uni. At one point I weighed less than 110 pounds at 5 feet 7 inches. I had to retake some classes twice, but I managed to get my diploma in July last year. 2 weeks after that, I packed all of my belongings into a single bag and left. I was homeless for a month before getting a job at a cafe, and the owner, after finding out I was living out of a homeless shelter, let me stay in a spare room in her house for a very small amount of rent, so I can save up for more permanent fix. Yesterday, I was at work when my parents showed up. I don't know if they somehow tracked me or if they stumbled onto a cafe 50 minutes away from our house by accident, but the second they saw me, they started shouting about how I gave up on them after all they've done for me. How I scammed them out of money because they paid for my uni. How much my sister misses me. My dad started to grab my arm to pull me out from behind the counter and probably drag my ass back home, but I shouted no and ran off. I've since been getting countless messages from every family member I've ever met, and even those I've never seen, about how heartless I am, how broken my parents and sister are. The thing is, I hate them. I hate my mom. I hate my dad. I absolutely fucking hate my sister. I never want to see them again. But I did walk out on them without letting them arrange for different childcare. I walked out and didn't tell them. Since yesterday I've had moments where I feel incredibly guilty, because I fucked them over so much. They paid for my uni. I had a roof over my head. I had food and running water. I just don't know how to feel anymore. Your parents had a child and they gave it to another child to care for. That's not childcare. That's domestic servitude. You owe them nothing. Do not let them convince you otherwise. The house, the food, the running water? Those are the bare minimum physical supports for a child they chose to have. Not gold stars of awesome parenting. Parentification is a form of abuse and you have done nothing wrong by breaking free. You didn't walk out on your family. You became an adult and, as soon as you could, you took responsibility for your own life. You do not owe them for food, shelter and education. They owe you something they stole from you that they can't replace: the opportunity to be a teenager instead of an unpaid nanny. You were a child caring for their child. I suggest you get a new phone number so they stop calling. Your parents stole your childhood. Keep working on yourself, maybe get some therapy and move forward with your life. And if they keep trying to guilt you to come back, then cut them off completely. If they keep coming to your work to harass you, then file a restraining order. You were graduated and over 18, they should have had a babysitter when the child was born. The fact that they found childcare tells me they could have done it when you left for university. They made it bad enough that you chose to be homeless over living with them. Whenever you feel guilty, remember that. Hey, paid for my uni. I had a roof over my head. I had food and running water. Please sit down and make an estimate on how many hours you took care of your little sister in the last 7 years. Now look up going rates for one-on-one childcare services per hour. Multiply both numbers. Now estimate what cost your parents had putting you through uni. I bet they got the way better deal. So really no reason to feel guilty about anything. Besides that, you're not some random nanny or au pair, but their daughter too, and they are responsible to support you through your education. You did everything you could for as long as you could. And when you came to your limits, they showed absolutely no consideration. Your leaving the way you did was absolutely justified. Please don't beat yourself up over this and continue to look out for yourself and don't let them guilt you back. It's unlikely they will ever truly appreciate you. If you go back, you're likely to be used. I don't see your feelings or wants to be taken into account either. Live your life and find those who truly care for you. If your sister or family cared, they don't have to apologize but sit down with you and talk. If they can't do even that, then you need to conquer your feelings and move on. No matter how hard it is. I hope you live a full and loving life. If you're really struggling with your feelings, write a detailed letter on what your parents did and how much it affected you. Bear in mind your sister is innocent in this too, she's only a child herself. You do not have to send them this letter and you do not need to speak to them if it hurts too much. I suggest you change your number if the messages don't stop. You were only also a child and I'm sorry you've had to go through this. You did the absolute right thing. Your parents abused you and you owe them nothing. I'm sorry you were feeling you made a bad decision, but you didn't. You made the best choice for you and your future. They're just trying to bring you down because they lost their maid and nanny. Focus on all the positives you have accomplished for yourself. Keep at it. See if you can get a copy of the video of your dad trying to drag you out of from behind the counter. If there is one. And get a restraining order. They got physical and are harassing you. You did the right thing. You own your life, not your parents. The whole putting a roof over your head and giving you food and shelter is not something they get cookies for. That's called being a parent. But forcing you to sacrifice your life without considering how that affected you is not parenting. They used you. They felt entitled to your servitude because they did their jobs as parents. That's not how it works. People have to be responsible for their own lives, not dump the responsibility on someone else, let alone their own child. I can understand maybe asking for help here and there. But it drove you to depression and they still didn't care even after you left the hospital? They even gaslighted you by saying you were ungrateful and made you feel bad for looking out for yourself. That's not unconditional parental love anymore. Consider the tuition for uni as payment for what they did to you and move on. I agree with the user who said to write out a letter expressing everything you feel and all the ways you were affected by their dumping your sister on you. I would finish the letter by telling them you do not wish them to come into your life until they acknowledge what they've done and set the record straight with your extended family. Even then, stay away from them. Yes, it hurts, but you're better off spreading your wings and doing your own thing. When your sister is older, she'll understand. You may never get the apology you deserve and your family might always hold a grudge. Just move on gracefully and focus on you. You're better off now. It will take time, but you'll be alright. Stay strong. They made you a slave for nearly 10 years. You didn't get paid and were punished if you didn't comply. You lost all freedom and were blamed for your depression. Glad you got out op. Your family is evil. Your parents had no clue how to parent. They are facing the consequences of their neglectful parenting. You have more than paid whatever debt you may owe your parents by providing years of childcare. Do not feel guilty for one moment. It will just tear you down. Block your parents and relatives. And get on with your life. If you can still access a therapist, do so. You still have a lot of healing to do. But you'll be fine if you can cut that cancer out of your life. Look forward, not back. And be happy. I've since been getting countless messages from every family member I've ever met and even those I've never seen about how heartless I am. How broken my parents and sister are. Yeah. They know how much you did for your parents and don't want to get stuck in your shoes. If you come back voluntarily, they are off the hook. Don't pay attention to anyone who didn't try to help you when you were homeless and didn't contact you with love and concern for you, but acted like flying monkeys instead. It's still all about them, isn't it? You owe yourself a vacation from parenthood until you have your own child. Should you choose to. But I totally understand if you're done with that bullshit. The only way you will get that is to wait until you are comfortable coming and going freely from your parents' home and life. That might take years and years. Congratulations on your freedom. I think you need to go no contact with all of your family members. There is no point in allowing them access to you so they can continue to abuse you. Please seek therapy if you are able. You have a lot to unpack and heal from. Fuck them. Stand strong op. This is just the start of your adult life and I hope things go well for you now. Next time they show up, just call the cops on them. Really. You have every reason to hate them. If I was in your shoes I would probably do worse. Forget any of your guilt. The uni? That was just your due for being your sister's actual parent. You owe them nothing. Live your life for yourself. You were living in indentured servitude. You parents are not good people. You're over 18. Get a no-contact order against them. I'm sorry, hun. Block those people. Since you know what kind of abuse you faced, start researching. I mostly came here to say that because your childhood was taken from you. Take these next few years to let yourself be a child. Don't engage with family. Don't seek their approval. Don't tell them off. Don't explain your side of the story. Just cut all contact. The block bottom gets easier to push with practice. Good luck.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.